The rain wasn't water. It burned her skin like tiny needles. She didn't move. The alien widow stood under the edge of a broken roof at the refugee station. Her cloak was thin, torn, and useless. Her boots were wet. Her hands were shaking. Her name was Lyra, but no one had said her name in weeks. She had lost everything in the war. Her mate had been killed on the battlefield. Not a glorious death, just a waste, just one of thousands. Their home was destroyed. Their child, their only daughter, was gone in the firebombing. And now, the surviving clans didn't want her. They called her spoiled blood. A curse. Bad luck. A mouth with no value. No home wanted a widow like her. Lyra looked at the entrance to the refugee building. The guards there, 2 humans, glanced at her, then laughed. One of them said something rude in English. She didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. Disgust. Mockery. She had already tried to go inside earlier. They turned her away. No space, they said. She had offered to clean, cook, even sleep in the storage room. They laughed and slammed the door. So she stayed outside, standing in the acid rain, surrounded by the smell of rust, oil, and old food. Other aliens kept their distance. No one spoke to her. She didn't blame them. No one wanted to be near a cursed widow. She slid down the wall and sat on the cold ground. Her body was thin. Her tail barely had muscle left. Her horns were cracked. She pulled her knees close to her chest and waited. She wasn't sure what for. Maybe death. Maybe sleep. Maybe nothing. Then she heard footsteps. She didn't look up. No one ever stopped for her. But the steps stopped right in front of her. A warm voice said, "Hey, are you okay?" She looked up, blinking through the rain. It was a human man. He looked tired. His jacket was old but clean. He had stubble on his chin and a scar on the side of his face. Not fresh but not old either. His eyes were strange. Kind but sad. He was holding something, a thermal blanket. He crouched beside her and placed the blanket near her hands. "You don't have to talk," he said gently. "Just take this. You look cold." Lyra stared at him. Her hands didn't move. Humans didn't do this. No one gave without asking something back. She narrowed her eyes. "What do you want?" He smiled slightly. "Nothing. Just figured you could use it more than me." She didn't believe him, but the blanket was warm. She could feel the heat coming off it, even through the wet air. Slowly, her fingers reached out and grabbed it. Her nails were chipped. Her fingers trembled. The warmth wrapped around her like a forgotten memory. She didn't say thank you. She just stared at him. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer. He didn't push. He stood up, nodded once, and started walking away. She watched him. And then, for the first time in days, she spoke. Her voice was dry and broken. "Lyra." He stopped. She repeated it. Louder. "My name is Lyra." He turned back and gave her a small smile. "Nice to meet you, Lyra. I'm Cole." Then he walked into the dark, disappearing into the fog. She stared after him until the fog swallowed everything. That night, she slept on the ground under that blanket. It was the first time she wasn't freezing. The pain didn't go away. The sorrow stayed. But the warmth made it bearable. The next morning, the guards shouted at her to move. She gathered her blanket and stood, ready to wander the streets again. But then, he came back. Cold. Same jacket. Same tired eyes. He was holding something else this time, a small packet of food. It was hot. She could smell broth. "I don't have much," he said, "but I can share." She didn't move. He handed it to her anyway. She didn't say anything. She just sat back down, opened the packet, and began to eat. He sat beside her. They didn't talk. They just sat in silence. But something had shifted. Thread had been tied between them, small, fragile, but real. She didn't know what it meant. She didn't know who he really was. But one thing was clear. He wasn't like the others. And for the first Time since she lost everything. Lyra felt something return. Hope. The night had barely ended when Lyra saw him again. Cole stood at the same spot near the refugee station, holding a steaming metal cup in one hand and a folded jacket in the other. The streets were still quiet. A few distant voices echoed, but no one paid them attention. Lyra watched him from her corner. She hadn't left. She didn't know where else to go. Did you sleep? He asked. She didn't answer. He handed her the cup. It's just broth. Number. Poison. She took it slowly, sipped it even slower. Her hands still shook, but not as much as yesterday. I have a place, Cole said quietly. Not big, not fancy, but warmer than this. Lyra narrowed her eyes. Why are you helping me? I told you. You looked cold. You don't even know me. He gave a tired smile. I don't need to. That scared her more than if he had asked for something, but she went with him. They walked through the slums of the outer district, twisting alleys, flickering lights, walls marked by graffiti and alien blood. Cole didn't say much. He just kept a slow pace, always checking that she was still following. His place was on the third floor of an old cargo tower. The elevator didn't work. They took the stairs. Every step felt heavier than the last. When they reached the door, he opened it and stepped aside. Go in. She paused. There were no cameras. No hidden guards. No trapdoors. Just a small room. One bed. One table. 2 metal chairs. A wall heater. Some tools and parts stacked in crates. A cracked window covered with cloth. It was messy but clean. Cole walked in, dropped his bag and kicked off his boots. You can have the bed. Lyra blinked. Where will you sleep? He pointed at the floor. I've slept on worse. She didn't move. You don't have to stay, he said, sitting on the floor. But if you do, you're safe here. I don't lock doors. And I don't touch guests. She studied him for a long time. Then she sat on the edge of the bed. She didn't remove her boots. She didn't unwrap her cloak. She just sat, watching him as he leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. He didn't even glance her way. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the wall heater. Minutes passed. Maybe hours. Lyra finally lay down. Under the blanket, just on top. She didn't sleep. But she rested. That night, she woke to a sound. A soft breath. A sigh. She sat up. Quickly. Cole hadn't moved. He was still on the floor, snoring lightly. But outside, someone was banging on doors in the hallway. Open up. Routine check. Lyra to ENCD. Cole opened one eye. Stay down, he whispered. He got up slowly and opened the door just a crack. Problem? He asked. A gruff voice answered. Gotta report someone's harboring an illegal. Wrong room, Cole replied. Let us look. Not without a warrant. There was a pause. Then footsteps moved away. He closed the door quietly and locked it. She was still frozen on the bed. You're not safe out there, he said. They'll drag you back, or worse. She lowered her eyes. I didn't ask you to protect me. No. Then why? He didn't answer right away. Finally he said, because you looked like someone who hasn't been protected in a long time. That made her chest ache. The next morning, she made tea. Not good tea. Just hot water with dried leaves she found in his supplies. She placed it on the table before he even woke up. Cole blinked at the cup. Thanks. She nodded, unsure what to say. They sat in silence. Then he asked, do you want a job? She raised an eyebrow. I fix old tech. Bots, comms, filters. I could use help. You're fast with your hands. She thought about it. And what would you pay me with? He smiled. Warmth, and a second blanket. She almost laughed, but instead, she said, fine. And that's how it began. Not with love. Not with trust. Not even with kindness. Just with one room, one heater, and one blanket they didn't share, yet. The city never truly slept. Even in the deep hours of night, Outside Cole's window, engines coughed in the sky, drones hummed, and someone always yelled in the alley 2 floors down. But inside the small room, it was quiet. Too quiet. Lyra lay on the bed, curled tightly under the blanket, facing the wall. Her horns barely peeked above the edge of the sheet. Her tail twitched every few minutes, like it remembered things her mind tried to forget. Cole was on the floor, just like always. A spare blanket wrapped around him, tools scattered nearby. He hadn't spoken much that day. Just handed her a broken plasma filter to clean. She had done it in 20 minutes without a word. Fast hands. Sharp mind, but no smile, not even once. Now. In the stillness, Cole heard something. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the usual groans of the building. It was a voice. Soft, cracked, alien, speaking, in a language he didn't understand. He opened his eyes and listened carefully. The voice came from the bed. Lyra was talking in her sleep. Her words were sharp, desperate. Her body flinched, twisting under the blanket. Then she whimpered. She was dreaming, and it wasn't a good one. Cole sat up slowly. He didn't want to scare her, but he couldn't just ignore it. Lyra, he whispered. No response. She muttered something again, then suddenly gasped and sat up fast, eyes wide, breathing hard. She looked around like she didn't know where she was. "Hey," Cole said gently. "You're safe. It's just me." Her eyes locked on him. Her shoulders relaxed just a little, then she looked away, embarrassed. "You talk in your sleep," he said softly. She didn't answer. "Nightmares?" Still no answer, but she didn't lie back down either. Instead, she swung her legs over the side of the bed and sat there, staring at the floor. He didn't push her. A minute passed. Then she spoke. "Do you know what it's like to watch your child starve while warlords argue over whose sky banner gets to fly?" Cole didn't move. He just listened. "They broke our city, promised food. Gave none. I sold my last family necklace for a bag of protein dust." But she still cried. She kept crying. Her voice cracked. I held her until she stopped. Cole closed his eyes. "I'm sorry." Lyra's jaw tightened. She was only 3 cycles old. Another long silence. Then Cole said, "My brother died during the Earth riots, caught between drones and protesters. He was 16. Lyra looked up. 16? "Yeah. He thought if he joined the cleanup teams, he'd get enough credits for college. Instead, they sent him into the hazard zone without a real mask." He smiled bitterly. "Some deaths are fast, some are slow. Both feel the same after." Lyra studied him in a new light. Not pity, not curiosity, just understanding. "You're not what I expected," she said. "And you're not what they say your kind is," he replied. "They say we're cruel?" He nodded. "Dangerous, unstable, violent." Lyra gave a dry laugh. "They forgot tired. We're very tired." That made him smile. For the first time, something shifted between them. Not love. Not yet, but something closer to truth. The next morning, Cole woke up to the smell of spice. Not strong. Just a hint. He sat up and saw Lyra at the small burner, cooking something in a dented pot. "Where'd you get that?" he asked. "Bartered one of your broken drones at the junk market." "You fixed it just to sell it?" She shrugged. "You needed food." He blinked. "You're dangerous." Her eyes glinted with a rare spark. "I told you, tired, not useless." They ate together without saying much. But the silence felt warmer, now. Safer. That night, Lyra didn't whisper in her sleep. She didn't wake up crying. She didn't shake. She didn't turn away when Cole laid his spare blanket closer to her bed, just in case. And when the rain returned soft and cold against the window, neither of them felt alone. Not anymore. At first, no one noticed. Cole and Lyra went about their days quietly. She helped repair old machines. He taught her human tech terms. She taught him how to make broth from leftover roots and oil packs. They laughed, Sometimes. Not often, but enough. Then someone knocked on the door. It wasn't a friend. A human woman. Stood outside. Pale, tall, wearing a clean coat and a fake smile. Cole opened the door halfway. "Cole," she said. "Long time." He didn't return the smile. "Lena." Her eyes wandered past him and spotted Lyra sitting at the table, sipping. "Tea, that yours?" she asked coldly. Cole's jaw tightened. "That's none of your business. Oh, come on. You can't seriously be," she scoffed, "living with one of them." He stepped out and closed the door behind him. They talked low, angry, sharp. Words in fast whispers. Lyra watched through the window crack. She couldn't hear every word, but she saw enough. Lena left after 5 minutes, but her footsteps echoed louder than they should have. Later that day, the whispers began. Neighbors stared. Doors closed faster when Cole walked past. Someone painted something on his door in red ink. "Traitor." Lyra tried to clean it off. Cole stopped her. "Let them see it," he said. "But they'll come," she replied. "I know." That night, they didn't eat, they just sat. She stared at the heater. He stared at his hands. Finally, she broke the silence. "You should ask me to leave." "No, they'll hurt you. They already tried that once. Didn't work. I'm not worth it, Cole." He turned to her slowly. His voice was calm, firm. "Don't tell me what something's worth unless you're planning to sell it." She blinked. He wasn't smiling. She looked away, eyes hot. "You're stupid, maybe, but thank you." 3 days passed. Someone smashed their window with a rock. Cole patched it with scrap plastic. His hands were bleeding by the end. That same night, a group of humans followed Lyra from the market. They didn't touch her, but they made sure she felt their breath at her back. One of them hissed, "Go back to your holes, horned freak." She came home pale. Cole saw the way she walked slow, arms tight around herself. He didn't ask what happened. He just handed her a hot drink and sat beside her until she spoke again. The next day, he came home with something new. A second bed. It was small, dented, and missing a leg, but he fixed it with a crate and a wrench. "You don't have to share a room with someone like me," she said softly. He raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, someone like you?" "Alien, widow, poor, hated." Cole shrugged. "I'm human, broke. Half the district hates me. Looks like we're perfect." She laughed. A real laugh, and it cracked something inside her chest. But peace never lasts in places like this. One night, heavy boots stormed the hallway. Voices shouted. Doors slammed. Someone pounded on theirs. Cole opened the door, and 3 enforcers stood there. 2 humans, 1 alien. They showed no badge, just batons. "We got a report of illegal cohabitation," one said. "We're searching." "No warrant," Cole replied. The alien officer smiled. "That only matters if someone important complains." "You think you're important, human?" Cole didn't answer. Lyra stood behind him, holding a screwdriver in one hand, quiet, still. They pushed past Cole and entered. The search was loud and messy. One kicked over the heater. Another pulled her blanket off the bed and sniffed it like it mattered. Then the alien officer looked at Lyra. "You're not marked." She stood straighter. "I lost my registry papers in the war. That's a problem." Cole stepped between them. "She's with me." The alien sneered. "Then you're the problem." They left with no arrest. No warning. Just grins and threats. After they were gone, Lyra sat on the floor. She was shaking again. "They'll come back," she whispered. "Let them," Cole said. "You don't get. If this isn't a story that ends well." "I know." She looked at him. He knelt in front of her and took her hand. His voice was low. "If they want you gone, they'll have to throw me out too." Lyra didn't speak, but this time, when they lay down to sleep her in bed, him on the floor, her hand reached down and found his, and she didn't let go. The days grew colder. The kind of cold that slipped into your bones. no matter how many layers you wore. The air was thin and dry, and the sun barely showed through the thick sky. But inside that tiny room something warm had started to grow. It wasn't just the heater. It wasn't just the extra blanket. It was the way Lyra looked at Cole when he wasn't watching, and the way Cole always brought home one extra ration, even if it meant he ate less. They worked in silence most days. Lyra fixed cables with quick, careful hands. She organized his tools without asking. She even figured out how to make one of his broken heaters run on scrap batteries. "You're better than me at this," Cole said one night. She glanced up. "You're still the one who pays rent." He grinned, barely. But there was pride in her voice now, a confidence he hadn't heard before. Sometimes she caught her reflection in the cracked mirror. At first, she hated it. Her horns were uneven. Her skin had faded. Her eyes looked tired. But then she found an old scarf in a junk bin and wrapped it around her head. It wasn't beautiful, but it felt hers. Cole noticed. "You look different," he said. "Worse?" He paused, then, "No." Like someone who remembers who she is. She didn't smile. But she didn't look away, either. That night, for the first time, they ate together at the table, not in silence. Not rushed. Cole had found a packet of dried herbs and made soup. It was barely food, but it smelled good. She added crushed root flakes to thicken it. They talked, not about the past, about nothing, the heater, the neighbor who kept yelling at her cat, the way the ceiling dripped near the corner. Normal things. Small things, safe things, after the meal. Lyra stood by the window. The plastic sheet flapped slightly in the cold wind. Cole came up beside her. They looked out at the city lights blinking far away. Dull. Lifeless. "This place is ugly," she said. He nodded. "Yeah, but with you, it feels less ugly." He glanced at her. She didn't look away this time, that night. She didn't stay curled at the edge of the bed. She didn't face the wall. She lay in the middle. And when Cole lay down on the floor, she said quietly, "You don't have to sleep down there." He didn't move right away. Then, slowly, he stood and sat on the edge of the bed. "You sure?" She nodded once. "I trust you," she said. They didn't touch. They didn't speak. They just lay side by side, separated by a few inches of space. And 1,000 unspoken thoughts. But sleep came easier. The wind outside howled. But inside the room, 2 exiles shared one bed, and the cold city couldn't reach them there. Asterisk. The silence didn't last. Good things never stayed hidden in a city like this. And Lyra's peace was borrowed time. It started with a mark, small, burned into the back of her wrist, while she was at the black market. A symbol half circle, 2 lines, a spike. She didn't see who did it. Just the pain, the smoke. A hand disappearing into the crowd. She dropped her bag. People stared but didn't help. She clutched her wrist and ran. Cole stared at the mark under the sink light. "That's clan branding," he said quietly. "Warlord property." She didn't answer. He looked at her. "Lyra, what did you run from?" She pulled her arm away. "You said you wouldn't ask." "I'm not asking because I want to judge you. I'm asking because someone just claimed ownership over you." Lyra's voice shook. "I wasn't a slave. Not officially, but after my mate died, his brother Barak, he said I owed the clan. Said a widow without a male was free property. He tried to mark me then. I escaped." Cole's jaw clenched. "And now he's found you." She nodded. That night, they didn't sleep. They moved the crates against the door, turned off all lights, covered the windows tighter. Cole checked his old weapon, a rusted sidearm with 2 charges left. "Not much," he muttered. Lyra sat quietly on the bed, holding her wrapped wrist. "You should leave me." "Stop saying that. I mean it." "He won't stop until I'm chained or dead." Cole sat beside her. "Then he'll have to go through me." She looked at him. "Why? I'm not yours." He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "No, but I chose you anyway." The next day, Cole left to meet a contact, a fixer who owed him a favor. He returned with fake ID chips, travel documents, emergency credits. We can run, he said. There's a mining colony 3 sectors out. They don't care about bloodlines or clans, just work. Lyra looked at the items in his hands, then at his face. You'd really leave your whole life behind? He shrugged. There's not much here worth staying for. She touched his cheek gently. There is now. But they were too late. That evening, Cole's door was kicked in. 3 aliens entered, tall, armored, and silent. Barracks thugs. Lyra was the target, but Cole was in their way. He swung first metal pipe to the head of one. The aliens staggered but didn't fall. Then came fists, screams. Furniture shattered. A heater exploded. Lyra tried to run, but one grabbed her by the arm, the same arm he had marked. She screamed and kicked, biting his hand. Barek sends regards. The alien hissed. Cole, bloodied and barely standing, grabbed the sidearm and fired. One shot, straight through the alien's throat. He collapsed. The others fled, dragging their wounded. The room was wrecked. Blood on the floor. Smoke in the air. Lyra dropped to her knees beside Cole. You idiot, she said, tears in her eyes. You could have died. I told you, he gasped. They'd have to go through me. She held his hand. They nearly did. Later, when she wrapped his wounds, Cole asked, Are you still scared? She looked him in the eyes. Yes, but I'm not running alone anymore. Outside, word spread fast. They had killed a clan enforcer. That meant bounty. Blood price. They couldn't stay. But they weren't weak anymore. Lyra had fire in her now, and Cole? Cole had something worth fighting for. The city no longer felt cold, not because the temperature had changed, but because Lyra had. She wasn't the same widow who stood in the rain, waiting to be forgotten. Now she stood beside a human with blood on his shirt and purpose in his eyes. And she was done running. They had 3 days before the bounty hunters came. Barrack's network would send more. Bigger, meaner, paid in credits and fear. Cole said they had to move. Lyra said no. He looked at her. What do you mean no? I mean, I'm done hiding. You want to fight them? You and me? Against a warlord's thugs? Her answer was calm. I've already died once. When my child starved, when my mate was burned, when my people sold me for silence. Now I've come back. I'm not going to disappear again. They had one working weapon, 3 traps, made from scrap parts. One exit door. And a message to send. Cole contacted someone he hadn't spoken to in years, a human journalist with a drone feed. If we're going down, he said, we'll let the whole district watch. The journalist hesitated. You sure about this? Cole's reply was simple. They need to see who the monsters really are. The thugs came at dawn. Loud, confident, armed. But this time, Lyra wasn't hiding. She stood in the center of the room, face uncovered, eyes burning like coals. This is my home, she said, voice loud, clear. Come take it. The first trap exploded, a flash bomb that blinded them. Cole swung from behind the curtain, knocking 2 down with a metal bar. Lyra slammed a charge into the floor, short-circuiting their gear. But one made it through, grabbed her, threw her hard against the wall. She gasped, pain blooming in her ribs. Cole shouted. The thug raised a blade, and Lyra didn't beg. She didn't scream. She looked him dead in the eyes and said, I am not property. Then she drove a hidden spike into his neck. The thug collapsed. Blood pooled. Lyra stood, shaking, bleeding, but standing. The rest ran. Not because they were cowards, but because they saw something in her. Something that didn't burn out. Something human. Later that day, the footage went viral. A human and an alien defending each other in a city that wanted them both gone. The story hit harder than expected. People talked, some mocked, But others listened, and a few came to help. 2 weeks later, the apartment had a new door, the heater worked again, and Lyra had a nameplate on the wall, not widow, not alien. Just Lyra and Cole, repairs and shelter. Strays started coming, not dogs. People. Forgotten ones. Abandoned ones. She fed them. He fixed them. Together, they lit a fire in the dark, not loud. Not violent. Just steady. And the city began to change. Lyra once thought she needed warmth. What she found was more than heat. She found someone who stayed. Someone who didn't look away. And in return, she didn't run. Not from the pain. Not from the fight. Not from love. She was once called cursed. Mal. She was the fire, and she chose to stay.